Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't miss much by the looks of it. Ooh, deep breath. Anyways, yeah, it's raining like crazy outside. I didn't want to leave my poor cat soaking wet, waiting for me to finish this game. As it could be a long one. TVP is a bit of a funny matchup. We've seen one so far today. We'll get another one as we rock and roll into this series. It's technically a semi-finals match, but more realistically, the quarterfinals match for the overall tournament. Again, the brackets were segmented into two separate groups, guys. This is the southern half of the southern brackets. Or no, sorry, the top half of the southern brackets. Man, sprinting winded me. At any rate, this is the Starbow Cup, Ladder Cup #1. And spawning in the lower left corner of the map, the man who was actually, he struggled through an equally challenging tournament to get here and, or not to get here, to get to the Starbow Invitational. Sorry, my brain's a mess. It is the man, the myth, the legend, the Red Protoss, RSVP. And his opponent, we got to watch a couple very entertaining games out of him so far today. Let's see how he does. It's going to be the blue Terran player, Alphasquad. Who, again, if I call Squadron by mistake, my apologies. It's my fault for playing Squadron TD all the time. Anyways, Alphasquad is going to, I don't know, hopefully do well this series. He was very not confident, I think is the best way I can describe that coming into this. A little bit worried that he'd go 0-2 to RSVP, but RSVP, despite being a really talented player, I can't take that away from him, did struggle in the Starbow Invitational, the thing I had awkwardly not been able to talk about at the start of this game. And it was against Terran players. Now granted, you could argue that it was because it was Axiom players, because it was like innovation type thing, but the reality is it was still Terran at the bottom line, so may not be the best at this matchup. One thing he did show us he's really talented at, though, RSVP and his Sentinels. Ladies and gentlemen, you give this guy some Sentinels, and you give him a bit of room, and he's going to cause some damage. Now, I'm not sure if he'll necessarily go for that versus Alphasquad. The kind of combination good and bad thing about Starbow is the community is really tight-knit. So the downside is a lot of people know everyone else's builds. Like, if you've played against RSVP, typically you know how he plays. That being said, the good thing is you get a lot more refined practice because you know how he plays. You know how to get around him, to get over his tactics, to get through the hoops and hurdles and whatnot. At any rate, he's just going to chrono out a couple of Dragoons here right off the bat. Singularity Charge is on the way, and the reality is, guys, Marauders, Marines, these are not units that deal with Dragoons too effectively at the start of the game. However, the top of the ramp is going to play a huge effect into this. For those who don't know, as we see, that Marine looks like it took almost no damage. It took 1 damage, actually, though. And a big part of this is the defender's advantage in Starbow. This is not an effect that is present in regular StarCraft, but when you shoot uphill, you got a 50% chance to quote-unquote miss your target. So by shooting up this ramp, oh my god, this Marine is so lucky! He's taking 3 Dragoon hits to the face and taking only 3 damage for it, or 2 damage for it. So anyways, that's the high ground advantage I was talking about, and normally this would actually be kind of devastating, losing units for free, but RSVP, he is actually not getting a lot done for this. Now we got a tank on the way, and as I stated before in a previous series, you do not need Siege Mode. Siege Mode is great, don't get me wrong, but you do not need Siege Mode to push back Dragoons. A naked, unsieged tank will get the job done. But he starts up Siege Mode anyways, again, safe and sorry, so going for like a bit of a Siege Expand, kind of the safe way to play Starbow out, but as we see, these Dragoons are not having the best luck in the world getting actual damage done. A combination high ground defense and the fact that these units don't take a lot from Dragoons, period, really helping out. But Robo Facility on the way, so we're not going to see that Stargate, we're not going to see Sentinels by any means, and it looks like it's going to be expand, and the Nexus actually gets scanned. A little unfortunate for RSVP, but not like it's going to disrupt them. I don't think anyone has ever been scanned going for an expansion and said, you know what? No, I don't want to take that expansion. Forget economy. But the observatory is going to be on the way here, which is going to be really nice to get those observers out. It's really critical to have them floating around the map. Vision is everything playing against the Terran player, because let's be honest, guys, Terran players are a little bit sneaky, whether it's running some units around the side of the map to go for a run by, whether it's a drop ship in and of itself. You never really want to let a Terran player just do whatever they want, but despite these earlier biological units, we're actually going to have more of a mech play coming out of Alphasquad by the looks of it as he starts floating his barracks away. Siege Mode will be finished here. Actually, it is finished now, so Dragoons are done for at this point. Surprised we didn't have a bunker be the first thing that comes out of this. I can't tell you how many Beastie games I watch where he just puts a bunker down and nothing happens for the next 10 minutes. Dragoons can try and shoot it, but SUVs can repair it. And eventually you'll get siege mode behind it to push it back. But I guess just going for the quicker siege mode automatically pushes these back. It does delay your natural expansion, I guess, a little bit doing it in this order, but it kind of gives you a safer opening in general. But you have transfers a lot of probes. Economy looking fine. Both players have the same worker count. It looks like we're just getting more gateways come out of RSVP. Now, I do worry. RSVP is one of those players. Oh, hold the phone. Oh, this is cool. I like this. Dragoons are going to get brought up here, elevated, so to speak, and Alphasquad is going to have to reposition all of his tanks to fight this off effectively. Now, SVs are being pulled to transfer. It may have just needed these in the main. We're not going to see warp-ins. We're not going to see warp-ins anytime soon, but yeah, Dragoons versus SCVs and a Goliath. Well, Goliath's not going to cut it as we see. Gets a bit trucked on there. Vulture's being brought back to the main. Vulture's also not the best source of damage versus Dragoons, and this is going to be rough to hold. It's going to be annoying, and RSVP should not win the game with this by any means, but as we see, it's certainly not turning out the way he wanted it to. Warp Person can only save 2 of these goons. Looks like he will save 2 of the weak ones. Put them on the lugger in here. He gets about 10 workers for it, though. I mean, that's not a terrible amount to get this early on. It's not an even trade by any means, but... oh, I'm sorry, guys. Have I been casting the First Blood overlay this whole time? My bad. Oops. Sorry about that, bros. Sometimes I mess up the overlays. It doesn't happen much. I've actually... You know, I was talking about this the other night with some friends. It's been a long time since I've messed up overlays. Like, I've almost... I think in almost 1 year's time, I've never messed up having, like, the out-of-game overlay on. First Blood, I sometimes forget to do, and sometimes, I guess, apparently now I will leave it on for too long, but I am proud of myself. I've been messing up the overlays very little lately. Anyways, Goon's gonna shell away here for a little bit. RSVP's got a War Prison force full of Zealots, but, I mean, this Spider-Mine's down. If he unloads these, they're gonna get killed. It's the bottom line. Unloading these on top of the tanks would be fantastic. There are 4 Marines in this bunker, but again, somewhat limited on what they can do. One thing I did learn, though, out of the Starbow Invitational that was fantastic. Well, first off, this harass is going to be hard to deal with. This dropship should get some pretty concrete damage done, but friendly fire from tanks is actually insanely painful to deal with. Oh, pick up the Goliath, pick up the Goliath. Oh, you can certainly do some juking micro here, I feel, if done correctly, but... Alright, not going to get a lot of damage here, sadly, in the end. Spider-Miner 2 does go off, but well held there by RSVP. Takes very minimal losses. 1 probe dies. Third base on the way. Pretty strong opening here so far out of him. But anyways, yeah, siege tanks, they hit so hard with such a long cooldown that, what was it, Innovation was like dropping SCVs on top of Ryung. And like it wasn't just that it was okay and causing a bit of splash damage. It was so effective that it like straight up worked. Now that's not gonna happen anytime soon here. RSVP is not gonna be loading up a Warp Prison full of probes by any means, but it yeah, just we'll see how he handles this. Moving on towards this middle part of the game, it's going to be more difficult too, because the longer he leaves Alpha Squadron alone, like the more passive RSVP is, the easier it's going to be for him to just spiral out of control with 100 tanks. And he knows this. This is why he's been constantly poking with the Dragoons, trying to load up a War Prism, trying to get those Zealots dropped off somewhere. But unfortunately, somewhat limited in what he can do. Spider-Mine going to go off on these Dragoons. No, I actually managed to kill it. Got a free tank there too, not too bad. But RSVP, I like that he's doing this too. So like, he might not be able to get in and cause concrete damage, but he can extend his lead. He can further his lead. He can take a third base. He could probably take a 4th or a 5th if he wanted to. Honestly, a couple good cannons would save against any small drop. But speaking of drops, another one coming here towards the main. There's fire bats in this one, guys. All he's got is drop this directly on top of the mineral line, and probes will certainly be guaranteed to die. There's a cannon down, sure, but splash damage is splash damage. We got a chrono boost going off with the cannon. It does make it attack a little bit quicker, but as we can see here, Dragoons are going to try and intercept. Firebats, unfortunately, do not get a lot done through this. In fact, almost nothing killed. A large part of that's because, well, they're slow without Stimpack. It's a cool move out of Alphasquad, but ooh, loses that medevac. And had the units inside of it. Really unfortunate. At this point, though, I mean, RSVP, he's up about, what was it, 16 workers-ish? Hellbats 2.0, Firebats, whatever you want to call them. It was a cool move. I liked it. A for effort, but they don't have the cone. Like, the reason Hellbats you can do that in Heart of the Swarm, guys, is because they got that really wide cone. It doesn't matter if you shoot a cannon, because you'll graze a couple probes in the process. But in Starbow, they've got more of a line attack. Firebats are more akin to that of a Hellion, so if you fire at the cannon, you're probably not hitting any of the probes. Damn it, guys! I asked for no spoilers earlier. Well, whatever. I probably would hear about it anyways through Twitter at some point. IEM is going on at the duration of this cast. If you guys are here in the VOD, that's what I'm complaining about. As I can't watch it, obviously, as we're casting this, but yesterday was a lot of fun. There was some really intense matches, and I watched it this morning up until the Starbow Cup started. But, of course, I do like me some Starbow, and I want to help make sure these tournaments get some proper coverage. So, here to cast, call it passion, call it dedication. I just call it addiction. I actually like this turret coming down here too. This is going to help pick off observers if it were to meander over here towards the other side, but also keeps the warp prism kind of limited on what it can do. Nothing's worse than a warp prism that goes uncontested, unhandled. But it's a lot of goons here towards the north. And right now this warp prism, there's no way it can possibly carry them all up, elevator up that cliff. And whatever it does try and elevator up that cliff, there's mines waiting for it. This Viking is not going to kill it outright right away, but the Dragoons on the ground can pick that off, or at least scare it away. Alphasquad, though, getting stuck on 2 bases, and this is kind of the problem for a lot of players in Starbow. When you get locked into 2 bases, you can comfortably play off 2 bases, but only for a limited amount of time. But Zealous coming from the north, tanks getting dropped upon here on the high ground, goons busting through the front, Alphasquad gonna lose everything in this attack. Great moves out of RSVP, hitting from 3 different angles at one time, and the tanks have that really, really awful cooldown. Nerve Jammer goes down. This will reduce the attack damage of all these units by 50%, but that doesn't matter. Good game is going to be called, and ladies and gentlemen, game number 1 will go to RSVP. Fingers are crossed. Let's see if Alphasquad can bring it back for game number 2. Of course, it's going to be his map pick in this best of 3.